Clinical depression is no fucking joke. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things that saved me when I was depressed. What's going on, guys? My name is Noah. Welcome to this video. First and foremost, if you are hurting and struggling today, note that I'm glad you're here. There is hope. Be brave. Do not give up no matter what. You're not alone. I always want to say that first. If you would like to know my history with depression, please feel free to read the description below. It edifies me, but believe me when I say I know horribly dark places. I survived horribly dark places, and I've learned a thing or two that I do believe can lend themselves well to day-to-day grind when it comes to getting better. Number 1, having an action plan. I cannot tell you how long the days are when you're depressed and how much longer they become when you don't have a formal, tangible attack plan. It's like you're festering and sitting in something that has the potential to last a really long time. Most people complain after they've had a cold for a couple days, but if you're battling depression like I once battled depression, you're going to need to stay mentally in the game when you feel literally like you can't do anything. You're gonna have to do so for quite a long time. So a key to that is having an action plan. Getting an action plan usually requires seeing someone who has experience with this, right? And following a game plan that they put together for you, i.e. a counselor, a therapist, something of that sort. In other words, do not go at this alone. You're gonna need someone who's better at thinking than you right now. Number 2, comforting measures. Comforting measures were key, and when you're depressed like I once was, you don't feel comfort very well anymore. I remember it was heartbreaking when I swear I couldn't feel the coziness of my bed. Sleep was disturbed for me massively, huge part of my depression and my anxiety, and so I remember not feeling any comfort in my sheets and in my pillow and in my comforter. And that broke my heart. So learning comforting measures that can still penetrate that despair and that pain that you go through when you're depressed is huge. One of which for me was Epsom salt baths, or just regular baths. Hot showers work as well. Something that could actually bring my shoulders down and allow me to feel a little bit of comfort. These moments of respite were huge for me in maintaining a long-term marathon mindset for overcoming something that on a minute-to-minute, day-to-day basis, I really wasn't sure I could overcome. So find something that might work for you. It could be floating in a salt tank, taking an Epsom salt bath, hot shower. It's also a lot easier to do meditative practices in that environment. Basically, the things that used to comfort you might not. So you're gonna have to up it to things that are ultra comforting. Massage works really well too. Number 3, community. It's one of those things I needed more than I wanted. Like most people when they're depressed, I wanted to isolate, but I needed community. So I found a depression support group in person. I was fortunate enough to find one. But you can also find community online. And the bottom line is we feel a lack of connectivity when we are depressed. I would argue that a lot of people feel a lack of connectivity in their day-to-day life in the way that the modern world is structured. We live most of our life here and not so much here with our peeps. So you need people when you are depressed badly. We're gonna have to do whatever we can to get that brain to associate connection with others. Plus, there's just something about being around people that are in a common struggle. That's probably why you're here, and hopefully why you stay, is because you know that you're not alone, and you need daily reminders of that. Daily reminders. So having a community around you is going to be a really tangible way to make sure that you're finding connection here and you're not self-destructing even more through drugs, alcohol, food, and things of that nature to find that same connection. Do not sleep on that. You need community. Number 4, nostalgic music and nostalgic media to help connect you to your former self, the one that feels lost. That was freaky important for me. A loss of pleasure and a loss of sense of self and identity was really big for me, and something that just helped keep me in there, keep me in touch with the me that I thought I had lost, was watching old films, watching old shows, listening to my favorite music from like nostalgic parts of my life, middle school, high school, things like that. Things that brought me back to very strong, positive emotion, strong, positive connotation. There is this tendency that when we are lost in depression, we just can't see past the immediate despair. It's impossible, all right? It's impossible. And what we do need are triggers to old feelings. That's what I needed, at least. So I did that all the time. And I would argue that that was an incredibly important aspect of my recovery, was remembering that I was still in there and remembering and associating peace and happiness and laughter and just good things with times that were behind me, to remember that they could be in front of me once more. Basically just to elicit familiar emotional response. So dig into those love ballads that you used to listen to back in the 90s. Watch some episodes of Friends or whatever, something like that. And don't lose track of the you that's still in there, even though you can't find him or her at this moment. You're still there. Number 5, I had to find a physical practice. Now, one thing that's pretty rampant in the depressed community, especially the newly depressed, is anxiety follows it, and lack of energy goes with that as well. But we do want to get those natural endorphins moving. Everyone benefits from exercise. I would say the stakes are even higher when you're depressed. So for me, it was finding something I was willing to do almost every day. And some days I was just such a mess that all I could bring myself to do was go for a walk around the block. But I would because I believed, and I was told by people that I modeled my recovery after, that it would help get me better faster. And there's this feeling inside when you're depressed where you're just like not sure how long you're gonna last. We're incredibly resilient, so I want you to know I believe in you and I think you can last long enough to get better. I really do. If I can, anybody can. But finding a physical practice was huge. So walking around the block was a very basic one for me. Going for light runs was a basic one for me. Going to the gym started to become a thing once I had been in my depression a little bit longer, started to get a little more acclimated, so to speak, because in the beginning it's like so overwhelming. But find something. The point is find something. And pro tip, get it done earlier in the day. Most people can't bring themselves to work out, period. It's a tough physical habit to develop, but you are fighting for your life, quite frankly, and you don't have a lot of wiggle room. You need to do everything that's in your control because so much of this stuff doesn't feel in your control. So find a physical practice, even if it's standing in place and doing a few squats, doing a few burpees, going for a walk, something. You have to get moving. We have to keep flushing this brain out, okay? Being idle, being still, being stagnant, being isolated. These are things you have to avoid, that I know I did. And I want to add to all of this that feeling like doing any of these things, it's not a prerequisite to get them done. I can't believe how proactive I was in my recovery, all whilst feeling deeply suicidal, completely hopeless, and not believing in any of it. What I did believe, however, is that other people believed in my recovery and that they believed this would get me better. I could believe in their belief. So if you're in that space, I want you to borrow my belief in you. This is coming from someone who was in a treatment-resistant depression with suicidality, hospitalized, forms of shock therapy. Check out my story below. If you're like, this guy doesn't understand me, it's like, trust me, I unfortunately do. And I understand that we all have our own specific stories, and so I'm certainly not trying to play God over you and be like, I know exactly what you're feeling. I don't know exactly what you're feeling, but I have been through something very similar, I assure you. And you're not alone. So those are 5 things that saved me when I was depressed. All things add up if you can create a habit around them in a daily practice with them. There's a million more things you could possibly do. There's a lot more things that I did. Those are just some of the main ones. But the bottom line, if none of the things I just said sound like things you're willing or ready to do, figure out what you are. Because the last thing we want is for you to do nothing and try to figure this out inside your own head. It's not helpful. It's not going to work. As well as following someone else's plan who's been there before you. You need a role model. If I'm a temporary role model, great. Until you find someone that you really connect with, that's wonderful. Just find someone, follow their path, and do whatever comes natural to you first. You've got to stack habits in your favor to help you get better. And that's what was done for me. We're just stacking habits, stacking rituals, stacking daily practices that are proven to slowly pull you out of the sludge. I am happy to report today that I've never been more mentally stable. I've never been this upbeat and happy. And I spent years certain that I would never feel okay again and plotting my demise. It was a really sad, heartbreaking time. And I'm not there anymore. And I say that to serve as a beacon of hope for you, that if I can get out of it, if so many people that I've been in touch with can overcome this, you absolutely can too. And if you don't believe so, that's okay. Just know that that's part of being depressed. I wouldn't expect you to, but I believe in you. So we'll see you guys in the next video. My name is Noah. Be active in those comments, okay? Participate in this. I'm a real person. I'm just talking to you. I get the value of that, and I hope you understand that it's not lost on me. I'm speaking with one person with whom I hope I have offered you just an inkling of support. And listen, if I didn't, that's okay. Someone else can. Go find someone else that you can connect with in your immediate community or on this online platform. All for one, okay? So one day, 1 hour, 1 minute at a time, we can get through whatever we're going through. I promise. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Again, my name is Noah, and stay brave.